Hi, welcome back. I'm Nisha. Today we are going to discuss how to find the highest value from an array. Actually, this application is useful for finding the highest score of the students. So let's see how we can do it in C++. So let's see what are the important points for finding the highest score from the unsorted array. Unsorted means this array is not in an order, in ascending or descending order. So how we can copy this? What are the steps for this? It's very simple. Let's say, listen carefully. So first we need an array. So declare an array and accept element into the array. So we are declaring an array and we are holding the elements in it. Then the next point is declare a variable. So here we need a variable for holding the first element of the array is the highest element. What is the next step? We want to declare a variable for holding the first element of the array as the highest element. What is the meaning? We are holding one value, the first element, the first value of that array in a variable. And now we are assuming that that is the highest element in the array now. Okay, so that is the second point. Now the third point, compare the variable. So we want to compare that value we hold in that variable with the remaining elements. So from the second element onwards, we want to compare that value. And if any element is big, so if we got any element bigger than that variable value, then copy that value to variable. So we want to overwrite that value. What we stored in the variable first, that we want to overwrite it and we want to copy that value. Which value? The bigger element to that variable. So repeat the process until the last element. So this is the process. This is the only process we want to do for finding the highest element. Now after that, print the value in that variable. Understood? Now we can check the algorithm for finding the highest element. Step 1 start. Step 2 accept a value in n as the number of elements of the array. So we are inputting in the limit of that array. Then in step 3 accept n elements into the array AR. So AR is the array here, and if we are inputting the elements into the array, then the limit is n. So n elements we are inputting. Now in step 4, assume the first element in the list as the highest. So here we are assuming the first element as the highest one, and we are storing that value in the variable max. Store it in max. So max is the variable here. We are storing the first element. Okay, and here we are assuming that that is the highest one. Now see the next step, step 5. Repeat step 6 until the last element of the list. So we want to repeat one step. So what is that step? See the step 6. Compare the next element in the list with the value of max. So we want to compare that value, the next element onwards. Next element onwards means the second element onwards, we want to compare with the value of max. If it is found higher, then store it in max. If the second element is the highest one, we want to store it in max. So we want to repeat this process. Is it? We want to repeat this process until the last element of the list. So we are comparing the second element, we are comparing the third element, we are comparing with the fourth element. So when we are comparing, if it is found it is higher than that max value, then store it in max. That is the only step here. We want to repeat it until the last element of the list. Okay. Now after this, we can print the value in max. So we already got the maximum value, the highest value in that max variable. So we can print that value. Then we can end it, stop the algorithm. Understood? So this is the way of finding the highest element. It is very simple program. Now we can check how we can write it in a C++ program. Now we can check the C++ program for finding the highest element from unsorted array. So now we can begin with int main. Now the variables declared int AR of 10. AR of 10 is the array and all other variables are there, I, N, max. Now the prompt for the user, how many elements we need for that array. So this is the prompt we are giving to the user. C in N. So N is the variable we are using for the limit. Now the next is enter the array elements. So this is another prompt for the user to entering the elements in that array. Now we start the loop for inputting the elements from 0th onwards. So C in AR of I. So we got the elements in that array now. Now the next is our logic for finding the highest one. So here we are using max variable for storing the first element because we are assuming that first element is the highest one. So we want to store that in max now. So for storing, max is equal to AR of 0. That means the first element we are storing in that max variable now. AR of 0 means the first element. Now next is we want to compare from the second element onwards. Is it? We want to compare that max value with second element onwards. So how we can compare? So we need a loop there. So how we can use that loop? Yeah. For I is equal to 1 onwards. 1. 0 is there in the max now. So we can move from the index number 1 onwards. Okay. So how we can compare this? See, this is the way of comparison. If AR of I greater than max, this is the comparison here. If AR of I is greater than max, we want to override the value in max. Max is AR of 0. So the first element is there in max. And we are comparing with the second element. If the second element is the greatest one, then we can override the value. That means we can store the new value, that second element value to max. So this is the process here. This is the comparison and storing. Okay, this process we are repeating until we reach n. Understood? Now I plus plus, I is 2 now. So the third number, so we are comparing with third number and the max value, and the third number is greatest means we can override the max value. So this process will continue. If I reach that n, then we can print the position, print the max value. That is the highest element now. So see how the highest element is max. So we got the value in max, the highest element in max. Now the program ends. See how simple it is. This is a way of finding the highest element from an array. So only thing, the first element we want to store it in a variable. Here I use the variable as max. Then we want to move the position from 1 onwards. Then we are comparing that 1, the first, second element, is it greater than max or not? If it is greater, we want to store it in max. Otherwise, don't do anything, just we can move to the next element. There is no else push. Got it? Yeah. Just see the example here. So this is the array and this is the max value. We are assigning max is 13. Array is here. It's an unsorted style. 10 is the maximum size and we inputted 7 numbers. Okay. Now we can check with this example. Now we can move the cursor to the first position. First means index number 1. 27 is the number there. So our loop starts from I is equal to 1. So I is here now. I is focusing on 1. That is 27. AR of 1 is 27 and max is 30. So we are comparing. If AR of 1 is greater than max, yeah, it is greater than. If it is greater than, then change the value of max or store the value of AR1 to max. So we want to store it, is it? So here comparison is going on. Now we want to overwrite it. See, max value changed. Now next step is we want to move the focus to index number 2. So now we are here now. Index number 2. That is 10. So next is 27 and 10 we want to compare it. So now 27 and 10 we are comparing. So AR of 2 greater than max. Is it greater than max? No. So that means we don't want to do anything. We can move on to the next step. Next step means I plus plus. So we are moving the focus to the index number 3. Now index number 3 and 27. That is 12 and 27. We are comparing with 27 and 12. So 27 is the greatest. So we don't want to do anything. So we are moving to the next element. That is index number 4. So 18 and 27 we are comparing. There is also no change. 27 is the biggest one. So we are moving to the next element, 93. So 93 and 27 we are comparing. Yeah. Now we got the greatest one. So AR of 5 is greater than that max now. Max is 27. AR of 5 is 93. So 93 is the biggest one. So we want to override the value. We want to copy that AR of 5 to max. So max is 93 now. So 93. It's changed to 93. Okay. Now we are moving to the next element. That is 25. Now we want to compare with 93 and 25. So which one is greatest? 93 itself. Is it? So here I plus plus means, yeah, we reached at n position. So n is 7 now. We reached there. I less than 7 only we want to repeat the loop. So our loop is ending now. Now what is the value in max? See the value of max now? 93. So we can print the value at max. See how the highest element is max. So we got the value 93 is the max value. Is it? How simple it is? So we can print the maximum value. The highest element is 93. Understood? So this is the way of finding the highest element from unsorted array. Okay. I hope you all understood the concept of finding the highest element from an unsorted array. So in the next video, I'll show you how to sort an array. So till then, take care. Bye. Thank you.